12 behavior shows they have low emotional intelligence. When someone has low emotional intelligence, EQ, they lack the ability to comprehend and manage their own and others' emotions. This makes it quite challenging for them to maintain healthy relationships. Do you or someone you know possess a low EQ? Pay close attention to these conducts. Although individuals with low EQ exhibit some bad behaviors, they are not terrible people. They need only to learn more about emotions and how to better manage them. 1. Overinflated perception of self-importance. People with low EQ tend to be preoccupied with how others treat them. It seems as though they are constantly assessing whether individuals are kind to them. They will not be too concerned with how others are performing. It does not matter whether the individuals they are with are stressed or depressed. What matters is how they treat them. When someone does not greet them with a cheery hello upon arrival, no one will question, are they okay? They seem depressed. All they can see is how disrespected and insignificant they are being treated. And if they detect any indication that they are not being valued adequately, they immediately withdraw because they know they deserve better. It is difficult to be sensitive to other people's emotions when one is preoccupied with one's own. 2. Acceptance of others. Whether it's a playful argument over something trivial or a more serious confrontation, you rarely hear someone with low EQ say, "You're right." Always, "No way," and "It's not my fault." This is especially true when it comes to relationship-related confrontations. If you tell them honestly that you were wounded when they made jokes about your deceased dog, they will understand. They would respond with, "Oh, but that's just a joke." They would never say, "Oh my God, I was somewhat of a jackass for doing that. It will never occur again. Sorry." They believe that admitting they have offended others makes them look like the bad person, and they never want to be the bad guy. 3. Believing that everyone is out to get them. People with low EQ have a perpetual victim mentality. It appears as though no one understands them and everyone is conspiring against them. They frequently use the phrases always, never, and always. They can be heard saying, "Well, that's all right. Everyone consistently treats me with contempt." Or, "I must be truly horrible. No one has ever thanked me for what I do." This stems from an individual's insecurities and trauma. And if they truly want to change for the best, they must recognize when their insecurities and trauma are speaking. So, instead of being offended by others, they will be able to remain composed. 4. Blaming others for one's responses. "I wish you had not done so. Then I would not have been so quick to anger. Why did you stare at me in such a manner? I screamed because I felt that you were gazing at me as if I were a criminal." People with limited emotional intelligence never remember that we have complete control over our emotions. They attribute culpability to others as if they were uncontrollable animals. They do not appear to comprehend that their reaction to something is entirely their responsibility. And certainly, if they can't control it, they should take responsibility for it and not blame others. 5. Incapability to control emotions. You name it. Outbursts, overdramatic meltdowns, slamming, shouting fits, etc. Low EQ individuals have a propensity to overreact to every minor inconvenience. Typically, it is because they have a difficult time controlling their emotions. They become so enraged that they believe they have no choice but to erupt. Occasionally, however, it is because they wish to manipulate and demonstrate dominance. Therefore, instead of communicating clearly, they use their emotions to make others feel terrible. 6. Passive aggressiveness. People with low EQ find it extremely difficult to communicate, particularly when they are offended or hurt. If they are wounded by your words or actions, they will not tell you directly. They would instead provide as many clues as possible that something is amiss. If you do not comprehend their message, they may resort to passive-aggressive social media posts. They find it amusing when individuals pursue them and inquire, "Hey, are you mad at me?" or, "Hey, did I do something wrong?" A few minutes of straightforward conversation could have resolved the situation, but they lack the ability to communicate. 7. Not seeing one's faults. To a person with a low EQ, everyone is evil, cruel, and self-centered. Not so for them. According to them, they are genuinely very kind and understanding. They would not scrutinize their flaws and errors and take a hard look at themselves. They merely lack the desire to. The possibility that they may have shortcomings and faults never even enters their minds. In other terms, they are unaware of themselves. They refuse to go, "All right, they're irritating, however what about me? What faults do I have? What is my role in this conflict?" They are certain that they have no errors or doubts. What's humorous is that they are likely also certain that they do not have low EQ. 8. Preventing conflict. People with low EQ dislike sit-down conversations where emotions are discussed candidly and conflict resolution is attempted. If you have wronged them, they would rather not give you an opportunity to explain yourself than to abandon you. They would rather burn bridges than cope with drama. This is the reason why their relationships are always in disarray and why they are constantly switching partners. A person with a low EQ perceives conflicts as impasses. A person with a high EQ views conflict as an opportunity to strengthen relationships and develop personally. 9. Expecting others to comprehend their emotional state. People with low EQ have high expectations of others. If they lash out in anger or cancel a date because they're feeling down, they expect others to comprehend. It's as if being in a poor mood gives them the right to behave as badly as they want, and that people should provide them with an endless supply of tolerance. People with low EQ struggle to accept responsibility for their decisions and emotions. This depletes others because they constantly feel the need to be the bigger person. 10. Inability to perceive the emotions of others. By observing a person's actions, tone of voice, and facial expressions, a person with a high EQ can deduce what they are truly experiencing. A person with a high EQ can tell if someone is lying even if they say, "I'm happy," if their body language and voice betray them. A person with low EQ, on the other hand, pays little heed to these things. It is extremely difficult for them to decipher signals, so they would prefer to be told explicitly how someone is feeling. This does not imply that they lack emotion. Some individuals on the autism spectrum, for instance, have difficulty reading people. Does this render them evil? No, not at all. It simply means they need to understand more about emotions. 11. Attributing poor communication abilities to others. It's amusing that individuals with low EQ are typically those with poor communication skills. However, they find a means to assign blame to others. When they sense that their friend is suddenly ignoring them, for instance, they will not directly ask them if everything is all right. They will instead pout and disregard them with much greater intensity. When asked why they did not confront them when they felt ignored, they would respond, "But you have a problem with me, which is why you ignored me. Why didn't you contact me if you had a problem with me?" And if you tried to explain that you're not truly angry with them, they would react with a full-blown tantrum. 12. Inability to apologize sincerely. People with low EQ view apologizing as a sign of vulnerability. It is the equivalent of agreeing that they are the ones who are incorrect, defective, and immature. They will never, ever do that. People with a high EQ would see no difficulty in apologizing. In fact, they no longer care who is right or incorrect or who is mature or immature. They recognize that ultimately, no one is to blame because everyone has faults, and they are both wounded by their conflict. Therefore, a person with a high EQ would only require them to apologize and move on. So be cautious. If a person would rather perish than apologize, they have demonstrably low EQ. Final remarks. Emotional intelligence can be acquired just like any other form of intelligence. Thanks for watching. If you like this information, please subscribe and hit the like button.